Let me tell you a little story. The truth. 20 tattooed gangsters, 20 warriors that rolled out of prison. They all served a fair bit of time in prison. They went out in the streets. They recruited young people on drugs in and out of jail. Plenty of them. Plenty. When this was happening in the neighborhoods, the people in the neighborhoods who was going to church complained to the big churches about what was going on. So a whole movement got moved from the streets, from the neighborhoods, right? From the neighborhoods. They went into the big churches with massive complaints from people going to the church. So when the churches started to hear this from all their followers, they put in a massive complaint to the federal police. The biggest churches in America, the 5 biggest churches in America were screaming out about this. So it went into massive federal police investigation. And they investigated these tattooed warriors, these tattooed gangsters that roll out of jail, recruiting young people on drugs and in and out of prison. There's a 2-hour documentary made about this. A 2-hour documentary. You see, after a 10-year investigation, very deep, thorough investigation, these were the results. These were the results. These punks, these gangsters that roll out of jail, tattooed warriors, hiring all these kids, recruiting all these kids on drugs and in and out of prison. You know what they did? This is the police investigation. This is a federal police investigation. The documentary made is a documentary that led to Team Challenge in America. Most people don't know the fine print of this. Do you know any of these warriors? You ever heard about any of these guys? Do you know one of these names? No, you don't. Well, let me tell you something. These kids that they recruited, they saved 84% with an 84% success rate. So they didn't go back to jail and they stopped taking drugs. And they stood on their own 2 feet and started to cope in life. 84% success rate, according to the federal police documents. The churches, the 5 churches that complained about them, had 1 to 5% success rate. 1 to 5% success rate. They couldn't understand why the churches and all the people in the neighborhood were complaining when they saw the statistics. So they investigated them at the same time and realized they had nowhere near the success rate. And they were raking all the money in. They were very rich and raking in all the money. And these 20 tattooed gangsters wasn't making any money. They were doing it from their heart and soul. They were doing it free of charge. They employed some of these people with workshops and gave them jobs at the same time in order to fund everything, in order to fund the whole programs off their own back. And they employed the same people to work for them in genuine workshops so they could cope in life and stop taking drugs and stop going into jail. So they came out of prison with the truth to the masses in such a way it drops the crime rate, the drug use, the domestic violence. The domestic violence, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters. Okay? Do you understand that? Because you don't know any of these people. You don't know one of these people. You don't know one of their names. On my platforms here, the Wisdom page, Street Wisdom Bible on Facebook, 2.5 million followers on Shadowban. We always get Shadowban. We always get suppressed by the whole system. And you always idolize heroes all over the social media platform that's never done nothing for society. Every Hollywood spinner, every platform you're following right now all around the world has never, ever, ever put their mark on earth like this. They have never changed the circumstances in their life. Do you know a guy rolled out of prison in Australia? In 2008, He was the first guy that led to the cure of the human condition that's going to save humanity, that led to the book called Freedom, written by Jeremy Griffiths. Do you know that every top scholar in the whole world, they hailed this man, Jeremy Griffiths, right, to be the first man to find the cure of the human conditioning in 5,000 years, and it wasn't him. It's a guy that rolled out of jail. He's the one with that DNA. He's the one that's got a perfect DNA and brought this to humanity for the first time in 5,000 years, but no one knows his name. No one even knows who he is, where he comes from, because the bureaucrats take the credit. The Hollywood spinners take the credits. The one with the best IQ and the most well-spoken takes all the credit in the world. Just like the churches do. Just like all the churches do, taking all the credit, taking all the money from you, and then the statistics are on the streets. One guy in Australia took down the highest death tolls, gang killing, murder rates, drug death tolls, all the domestic violence on the home front, stopped kids going into homes, stopped prostitution, and brought all these statistics down for the lowest in 30 years. The department didn't do it. The department was escalating it. So the governments and authorities and the police force was escalating every year, and then one man comes in and takes over the 7 most powerful networks, brings out an organic drug and reverses their plan, and these statistics plummet to the lowest in 30 years. One man in a whole continent. One man. Do you know who he is? No, because you give the credit to the governments and authorities that was escalating it. You give credit to all the people escalating it. Take a look at every freedom fighter in the world. Take a look at Dan Bagani, Joe Rogan. Take a look at them all. They all have cops and guns. Do you know what America idolizes? Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid's one of the biggest idols in America, right? And all the new programs and all, even brand new series. Billy the Kid was one of the lowest motherfuckers on earth that shot people in the back. Nothing but a punk kid who used to shoot people in the back. What's Americans do mostly? Do drive-by shooting, shoot people in the back. Defenseless people. How many people living on the streets in America less than $2 a day? 17 million. How many people live on less than $10 a day? 40 million. Okay, how many works their guts out? Well, they've got Mexicans at every hardware store doing that for them. How many heroes do we have on social media platforms from America? What have they ever done for anyone? Tell me, what has any of these platforms all over the world and all the freedom fighters all over the world, what have they done for people? What's Shasha Stone ever done? He's been a reporter his whole life. What's Russell Brand ever done? Make comedy and becomes a reporter? Charlie Ward's just another reporter. Laura Ladd's just another reporter. They just do an IQ and manipulate the system with their words and their sophisticated knowledge. Every single one of them, man. What's Joe Rogan ever done for anyone? What's Dan Bagani really done? He's a cop. He was CIA. And you know what? He's not a bad guy, but you know what? He loves the system. He loves being by the book. And the book is the book that creates these problems in a marketing strategy. I find it ironic, right? When you really stop and take a good look at the world today and who you really idolize out there, because you know what? Water always finds its own level. And 99% of Western civilization finds water at its own level, and that's who they idolize, like Hollywood characters and Hollywood spinners, the American dreamers. All movie characters watching too many movies, man. What do they know about the streets? You know what they know? They keep their doors shut. They bring their kids up with an iPhone at 4 years old so they're sexually frustrated by the time they're 8, and they think it's the best friend by 12. And take a look at the whole American platforms. They have the most catfish in the whole world. The biggest Hollywood spinners, the most propaganda, the most misinformation, the most radical far left, far right behavior, right? The most egotistical, the most debate, conquer and divide. Yeah, that's Americans that follows their same water, right? So follows the same Hollywood spinners and characters with a high IQ that only makes them good at what they do. And you know what? They're damn good at what they do because they can manipulate nearly every person in the whole world so easily. You know why? Because the whole people in the world, every single follower is no different than them. Hollywood spinners sit in front of a social media platform and try to put tickets on themselves as if they're all the heroes in the world, and they don't even know who the real heroes are. And they couldn't do half of the things that they really do. And you want to wake up to the truth? Well, that's the truth 99% you can't face.